way I can, at least if I don't use my headphones, at least they can hear your voices to interact. But
did you get the people in the boxes like in a previous lesson that you taught?
Yeah, but I think when I went back and looked at that video, it was kind of what you're describing right now, where it's like not ideal and stuff. So
that's clear in the background now.
Yeah. So that is clear to you?
Yeah, it's a lot clearer than like 30 seconds ago.
Okay, let me see. I'm trying to check all the different windows that are open. Okay. All right. So, well, I don't know, man. I don't know if anybody else is coming or what, but yeah, we can go ahead and pray, and Lord willing, I mean, somebody else will come. But if not, we'll make the video, and hopefully people will be able to watch it and keep up with the class. That's what I'm hoping. So.
Sounds good, brother.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that within the next few weeks that we can get where, I mean, yeah, it'll be basic, but still we're kind of like interacting with vocabulary and stuff with each other. And because that to me has helped me a lot to learn. It's not just, I first started out, it was just book work and writing, which is important. But that's probably Frank. Is that Frank? Somebody just jumped in. Christian, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, I see the box in the middle.
Okay. I lost your picture, though.
Yeah.
I
can see. So there's a box for you on the left. It's like black and white, though.
Okay. Yeah. It's somebody else. Oh, yeah, Frank. Okay, maybe he's trying to get his mic together or something. But yeah, both of you, I don't. Well, yeah, when I click on you, I got you. Maybe Frank's trying to get his video and his audio together. Okay. So, yeah, let's just go ahead and pray. Christian, if you could pray first, brother, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Heavenly Father, we worship you together. Father, we just pray that today that we would rejoice in you, and we would focus all of our energies, all of our attention on your purposes, on your kingdom. Father, just humble ourselves before you. Your kingdom is everlasting, and as we just go about our days in this short life, pray that we would just give you all of our efforts. Just consecrate our lives to you. Pray that this time would be useful and profitable as we just want to hide your word in our hearts, meditate on it, bounce it back and forth in our minds.
Yes,
we pray that Brett would have the ability to teach, and just give him a special ability to communicate. Father, we strive to be more like Jesus in our everyday lives. We walk like him and talk like him. Do the things that you have called us to do.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, brother. All right, Frank. I hope at least you can see on your end. Frank, maybe you don't have a camera working, but do you have audio? Do you have mic at least? Maybe you just need to turn, I don't know, sensitivity of your microphone up? Because I see the, oh, okay. I see a message. Yes, I have to restart one moment. Okay, cool. Okay, well, yeah, we can just kind of review a little bit. Just kind of dwell on a little bit of review while he's doing that. So we had 5 nouns. Hey, there he is. All right. He's our Koine Greek superhero. Thank you, Frank. Captain Frank appears. Awesome. All right, so we got 5 nouns. I don't know, Christian, can you give me 2 of them?
Let's see. Curios and
Cover the board. What was it? Kurios and what?
Kurios and Theos.
Theos, okay. And Kurios means, what does it mean?
Lord or master.
There you go. And Theos?
God.
Right. Yeah. And it seems like it's almost kind of a little bit related to the Latin version of Dios. I think that's how they say it. Maybe they say Dios. But oh, in Spanish it's Dios. That's what I'm getting at. But maybe it's Dio or Deo or something in Latin. But anyway, I know the Greeks had a lot of influence on Romans when they conquered them. When the Romans conquered the Greeks. So anyway, so we got three more. Frank, can you give me two, man?
Okay, let's see. We got Rios. Is that right? Say that right?
Yeah,
Rios?
get it more of a H in there, like Huios.
Okay, Rios.
A little scope, put a little scope in there, Listerine or something. Huios.
Rios.
Yeah, there you go.
And Logos.
There you go. Okay. And then one other one would be anthropos. You know, that's where we get our word anthropology and stuff. So let's review real quick, like, you know, syllables and where the accent is. So remember, you know, where syllables are is kind of where all of a sudden new vowels appear and a collection of vowels and consonants in our word. So we got, you know, logos, two syllables with logos, and the accent is on the first one, not the second. So it'd be logos, and then with wheels, it's actually the opposite. There's two syllables, but it starts out without the accent, and then it ends with the accent. So it's wheels. So we put our emphasis on the last syllable, and then same with theos. So it'd be theos, and of course this is the nominative form we're talking about. So, and I know you guys got that first column, which is the singular, nominative, genitive, dative, accusative. You got that down pat already, right? That would be amazing if you did. So, but if you have a reasonable handle on a little bit, that'd be good. But this is the nominative, which is the subject form. So theos, huios, logos, and then kurios. So there's three syllables in kurios. So if Yoda and Omicron were diphthong, then there would just be two. But because they're not, they're separate vowels. It's actually split right there. So it's kurios. So we got our accent right there on that first syllable of the three syllables. So kurios. So kurios. And then same with anthropos. We got anthropos. We got three syllables there. So the accent is on the first one. So it's anthropos. Anthropos. And so that's the nominative form. And then we had one verb. Who can give me the verb?
Lege.
Or yeah, that's the third person singular form of it. That'd be the he. What does it mean?
It's speak.
Yeah, like that would be the he speaks or she speaks or it speaks or whatever form of it. But yeah, the I form of it. You know, the version that's in the lexicon has got the omega at the end. How do you say that?
With the omega, it's Lego.
Right. So the accent's on the first syllable though. So it's Lego. So it starts, you know,
Lego.
emphasize Lego. Yeah.
Lego.
We'll eventually run into some where the accent is actually on the end on the omega, and then but not with this. So anyway, so that's the ones that we have so far, and then what we're going to do today is what are we going to do today? Let's see. Let me do this so you guys can see. Can you guys see that? Okay. What we will learn today. See that? Okay.
It comes in and out, but I see it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to help or hurt. Does that help at all? Or is that more of a...
No,
Does that help?
It's more like the screen clip. Sometimes you can see it really good, and then sometimes it's kind of blurry.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
This will work. Yeah, it works.
Maybe it works? Okay. So anyway, so what we're learning today, so we're going to look at just a little bit of the definite article for second declension. We're not going to look at all the other ones. We're just going to take it piece by piece. But at least we'll get exposed to the idea of definite article. We've talked a little bit of it in the past. The definite article in English is basically just the word the. So we're just going to have a word so we don't have to just keep saying a man, a God, a Word, a Lord, a Son. Now we will be able to say the, and I'll just mention if you put the definite article that we're going to learn in front of most of these words, except for proper nouns, like whether it's Jesus or a name of somebody, you don't usually say, like, even when you say God, at least we don't in English. Maybe they thought of it this way in Greek, who knows? But when we translate ho theos, and that's what the definite article for the nominative form is, ho, for second declension masculine. So it'd be ho theos, ho huios, ho logos, ho kurios, ho anthropos. So you wouldn't translate this as the God, not usually. It just depends on the context. There are some sentences where we would say, that the God of heaven and earth is the God that created all things. I mean, sometimes you would say that, but other times you wouldn't say it at all. You would just say God, right? So, but it would still have the definite article. So it's just kind of you look at it, you read the text, and you see the definite article, but then you kind of get a gist from the context, what's being said, and then you translate, based on that. So we'll look at that, with just the singular side. We're not going to look at the plurals yet. For much of this stuff, we're not going to focus on plurals so much. We're just going to, get a good feel for the singular side. So we're going to look at the nominative, which we just did, ho theos, ho huios, and then we'll see the ones we'll get into for genitive and dative and accusative, and yeah, we won't worry about vocative, but we'll do those four, and then a couple conjunctions, like in English conjunctions, even the word conjunction, con, and I guess comes from Latin, that means kind of with or joining things together. So it's kind of a joining things together kind of word, conjunction. So like and but and or, those sorts of things that join together different nouns, or maybe join together different clauses together to make a sentence. So we'll just look at the word for and we'll try and use that a lot. And it's in the New Testament, probably almost one of the most prevalent words in the New Testament, and it's kai. So that'll stick to you here pretty soon. And then another one that's very handy is hoti. So we'll kind of use that and make some sentences with that. Those two. So hoti can be translated as that or because. And in English, there's different ways of using the word that. And in this sense, the way I mean is like you would say a little clause, a little phrase where you say maybe, I want to tell you that, and then I start another, subject, verb, whatever, another clause together, that the two together is kind of really a sentence. So it's like, I want to tell you that you, as the subject, are, a good student. I want to tell you guys that. So that word that, in that sense, is really what we're talking about. And then also, the word because, it's one of the ones you can use for because. So a lot of times you'll start off a sentence with the word hoti, and yeah. Anyway, we'll get into that. So let me just go through the overview here. So, but those two conjunctions will come in real handy for us forming sentences. So kai is in there more in the New Testament. Hoti's in there quite a bit. So it'll help us with forming some sentences. And then I want to give you the words also. I guess they call them particles as far as English grammar goes, or Greek grammar, grammatical terms. Just like this is a conjunction, this is a definite article, these are nouns, and then we've got verbs and so on and so forth. So they would call that a particle, and that's the word for yes and no. So yes, you would say nai, and spelled very similar to kai, right? Except you got a nu instead of a kappa. So nai. So if I asked you something, it's like, do you guys know your 5 nouns? What would you say to me, Christian?
Nai.
Hey, look at that, man! You're a Greek speaker. Look at that. That's awesome. And Frank, let's see. Do you know your 5 nouns?
I is no.
Okay. I actually just use the word ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah, and very soon I'll show you the emphatic form of that when you were like really like know what a exclamation mark. I'll show you that. But
Actually, I do. So 9.
yeah, okay. So ooh is no, and then nigh is yes. And then similar to how in English, which Greek they don't have an indefinite article, you would just have the word the, which is a definite article in Greek. But in English, when we have our indefinite article, which is a and an, we have two versions of it because whenever you have a noun and it starts with a vowel, as we know, we would use an instead of a, right? So, I want to give you an apple, we would use an. So for the exact same, idea, same reasons, that's why you would use ook, which ends with a consonant instead of oo. So if you're going to say no, and then the next word starts with a vowel, alpha, epsilon, iota, omicron, upsilon, and even diphthongs, eta, all those vowels and diphthongs. So if it started with one of those, you would want to use ook instead of oo. But yeah, so just answering yes and no, you can just say oo or nigh. So, and then we're going to look at some new nouns. I'm going to kind of pile, 7 new nouns on you. These are all second declension masculine. We're just going to stick with, second declension masculine for now. And as far as verbs go, you get the one verb, but now we're going to add 3 more verbs. And as far as this one, which is your to be verb, because it's not an omega type, that's the conjugation we want to focus on right now. But it's probably the most prevalent, as you can imagine. It's the to be verb. It's the one that is you are, he is, they are, she, she was, they, whatever. So we want to get started on that one, but it's a different style of verb. So we're just going to stick to the basics of it and not go into the full conjugation of anything like that. But just learn how to say I am, you are, he is, and then you'll have to memorize those because it's going to be a little bit strange or odd from the other conjugations of these others that all follow the same pattern. So our verbs follow the same conjugation pattern because they're omega type verbs. And then similarly, our nouns will follow the same declension pattern for second declension masculine. So we're just going to try and follow patterns for a while. Once we kind of get that going, and we can jump over to something a little bit different and stuff. But since you can form so many sentences with is and are and I am and whatever, I thought we'd use that one. So. Not to mention that, like I said, hopefully within the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, I mean, I've got some real simple segments of scriptures in the New Testament we'll look at today based on what we're learning, but it's not really a full verse or anything. So I'm hoping with the next 3, 4 classes or something, we can get into we're really doing some scriptures and stuff. So, and some of the easier parts of the scriptures like the Gospels and stuff. So anyway, and then as far as personal pronouns, just look at some of the nominative ones, which would be like I. So if I was to use Lego, we're going to look at the ones for just the singular side. So I and he and she and you, just for those words. Those are personal pronouns. So if I wanted to say, I speak or I say, you could just say Lego, but there might be a reason why you actually want to use the pronoun just to clarify. Because let's say you got multiple, men in the room or males in the room, and you're using the word he, and maybe you're using that, but then maybe also you toss in names too together with the pronoun and whatever. So, but anyway, there could be various reasons why you want to definitely use the pronoun and not just rely on the ending of the verb to tell somebody. Yeah, a good example would be if it's third person. Well, you don't know if they're talking about, if you say lege, Is it talking about she? Because you got a female and you got a male right there, and it's like, and they're talking with each other, and it's a third person referring to both of them. Or is it talking to he, or is it talking about she? So that might be one reason. But anyway, so we would say ego lego, lego my ego. So ego lego. So that would be I speak. Using the word I. Ego. So we'll look at some of the rest of those, and so I guess we could kind of walk through the nominative form here, and just go through these verbs in their basic form, and then I'll erase the board, and then we'll get into each segment, into each part. So let's start off with this word here, adelphos. So this is 3 syllables, adelphos. So the first syllable is just the alpha. The second would be delta, epsilon, lambda, right? So delta, epsilon, lambda. And then the last syllable is phi, omicron, sigma. Now notice it's the ending sigma, okay? And then this one over here, we're going to add cosmos, where it's got the non-ending sigma and then the regular sigma in the same word. So you can actually see the distinction there. So anyway, adelphos. Does anybody know what adelphos means?
I do not.
Christian, do you have that from your?
It's familiar, but I can't recall right now.
Oh, okay, that's okay. So yeah, that's the word for brother. Yeah. So if I use that now, what do we use the vocative case for? Do you guys remember?
Direct.
Say it again.
Direct address.
Yeah, direct address, right? So Frank, what would be the direct address? Do you think for if you drop the os part and you put the vocative ending?
What should be epsilon.
Epsilon, right? Yeah, adelphe, right? So if I said adelphe Frank, there you go. I could say, hey, adelphe Frank. So, and then the next word would be, so here we have the accent on the last syllable. Here we got 2 syllables, nomos, but the accent is on the first syllable, so it's nomos, nomos. It's on the first syllable, so nomos, and that means law. And eventually we'll see in the scriptures a little bit of I don't want to say it's a pet peeve, that might be too strong to say, but it's a little bit of an annoyance that that there's certain places in the scriptures where, yeah, they're using the word nomos and it's law, and we're discussing the law in the New Testament. And then there's other places where it's using a certain variant with a prefix on the word that we're going to learn for, the to be verb, and it really together with that prefix means, permit, or is it permissible or something like that. That's the way they should translate it, but they translate a lot of times as like Matthew 19, for instance, Matthew 19. They'll say, is it lawful that, then they go on and they say whatever they say. And it's, in the Gospels, there's conversations like Jesus and the Pharisees a lot. And because probably, I'm speculating, to Protestants, the law was done away with. We don't have to obey anymore. Now it's just faith alone or whatever. Making that sort of thing is probably meaningless to them. But to when you're in our circles where we're like, no, it's the law of Christ, we have to obey Jesus and stuff, versus people debating us that are Hebrews roots people that are like, no, we have to obey Moses. When Jesus said, obey my commandments, he was talking about obeying the 10 commandments. And those kind of debates with that type of translation is problematic. So eventually we'll get into that. But there is a lot of places in the whole New Testament, not just the Gospels, where it's actually using the word nomos, which means law. And, that's what it means. So, oranos, so that's 3 syllables. U, omicron, upsilon, and then rho, alpha, and then the last the third syllable, the last syllable is nu, omicron, sigma. So oranos. Does anybody know what that means? Let me grab some water here real quick. Okay, have you guys ever heard like in Greek theology or Greek theology, mythology? They use the word the way we pronounce it, as gringos, is Uranus. I mean, that's the name of the supposed God, that came from heaven and came down with the quote unquote Mother Earth, and the word of or the name of her. I think we pronounce it as gay. I think. Um, I forget how they pronounce it, but that's how you pronounce the Greek word that means earth or land. So it's the idea of what we kind of see in Genesis chapter 6, the first 4 verses, where the sons of God saw the daughters of men. And of course, over the centuries, when, the 3 sons of Noah split out, and all of a sudden you got the fish stories where the fish got bigger and bigger and bigger over time because they had no respect for truth and stuff. You get stories with the Greeks, kind of like this distorted picture of what happened in Genesis 6, the first 4 verses. Or the first chapters of First Enoch, or first 20 chapters of First Enoch. But anyway, so you got Uranus, which it's really a gringo version, transliterated version of this word, Uranos, which means heaven. Yeah. So you got that together with the word in Greek, which I'm kind of jumping ahead. You don't really have to remember this word yet, but gay, which would be gamma eta, and that word means earth. And so here's this story of, the sons of God, or Uranus, or Uranos, came down. The god of Uranos came down, and with the daughters of men, which they're calling, gay, her name in Greek mythology. And then, of course, their offspring were the Titans, which were the giants, of old and stuff, or whatever. So that's, their so-called mythology and stuff. So, cosmos, so it's on the first syllable, it's 2 syllables, cosmos. So kappa, omicron, sigma, mu, omicron, sigma. So that's the 2 syllables. So the first one, cosmos. So it's kind of emphatic on the first syllable, cosmos. So that means world. And, I guess it could mean universe or something like that. Like when the scriptures are talking about that God created the cosmos, that's where we get our word cosmology in English. Is it just talking about the earth? Like in Genesis chapter 1, when you look at the Septuagint, or is it talking about the whole universe? I mean, personally, at this point, I don't know. All I can say is, the published version of what this word means is it means, the world, so.
But you said gay means earth?
Hey, brother, say that again. Adelphi, Frank, say that again.
Did you say that gay means earth?
Right, yeah.
So that would be different. That's like a name then.
Yeah, it's like, well, you know how it is in English. Sometimes we'll have, like, we have a word for world. We have a word for earth. And sometimes when people use the word earth in context, they might be referring to the field or the land, but they might be referring to the whole world, maybe. I don't know if anybody would ever use the word world to refer to universe. I don't think so. But anyway, that's just the idea. Sometimes, you can have the same word and it's like, what is that talking about? Earth, is that just talking about the whole planet, or is it talking about just he went and planted, the seed in the earth, which would imply just a short bit of ground that he owned or something, or so sometimes you got to look at the context. But yeah, I'm not really sure, but we don't have to worry about that too much now. I think to discover answers to those questions, you just need to be widely read, in antiquity, to try and figure out, okay, how did they understand these words, So I just, as far as that word goes, I've got a pretty narrow exposure, so I can't really say. I can just go with what I've been told that it means. So, and
like in English, like the word cosmos would kind of mean like space, but that's a little bit different than the Greek, right?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like most people use that word, and it could just be that's what people have, because words evolve over time with meaning.
Yeah.
Like for instance, take the word in King James times, suffer the little children come unto me. That's just one example. There's a lot of them in King James like that. I mean, it doesn't mean suffer as we understand the word, right? But if somebody used the word suffer now, they would never use the word suffer in modern times to mean permit, allow. I mean, not today. They used to. So did it used to mean that? But I agree with you. That's kind of where we're at now with that word. But
Okay.
yeah. So anyway, it's just for us to learn. Let's just it's like, okay, this is what it means. Let's use it in sentences, and then later on, as we're kind of reading, we can kind of listen real close to context and try and maybe expand our borders or something of what we're understanding certain words mean or something. But because I'm kind of trying to do that all the time. So, and then here's another word, Laos. So we got lambda alpha. That's the first syllable, and the second syllable, the last syllable, is where the accent is. Omicron sigma, and of course, all of our words end with Omicron sigma. Because why? Adelphi Frank?
Because that's the nominative form.
Yeah, because it's nominative and it's
Second declension noun.
second declension, and what gender, Christian?
Which
Is it feminine?
indicative.
Well, I mean, all the nouns that we're learning right now are second declension masculine.
Masculine.
Yeah, masculine. Yeah. So there are some that are second declension feminine, but not very many. It's not a very common occurrence. So we're just focused on the prevalent ones, which are second declension. And even with first declension, there's some masculine first declension, but not very many. In fact, we'll I don't want to get there yet, but the word for teacher is second declension masculine, which we could learn soon. But the word for student is first declension masculine, so it's a little oddball. So we're not there yet. We're not going to bother trying to make exceptions to what we're learning right now. So
the answer to your question, why it ends in os, what's the answer?
So, like he said, first of all, it's second declension masculine, and then it's also nominative. So that all of that combination of that is going to give us the os at the end.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, if it was second declension, which will, I don't know, maybe at least 1 or 2 more weeks before we get to it. I don't think we're going to do it next week. Probably the week after, we'll add second declension neuter. So the paradigm will be very similar. It is the same for genitive and dative, but the nominative and accusative are different. But since nominative and accusative and neuter are exactly the same, it's not hard to memorize. It's like just slapping on another 5% to what you already know. So it won't be much of an adjustment. So, but yeah, second declension masculine and nominative gives us the os, the Omicron sigma at the end. Yeah. So Laos. So it starts out not accented, and then it's accented on the last syllable. So Laos. So we want to put accent on that last syllable, Laos. Now that word is one of many words we'll learn when we refer to people, because Laos means the people. It's the word where we would derive our word laity. You got a church assembly, you got the hierarchy of the bishops and deacons and elders, but then you got the laity, you got the Laos. It's obviously not a word that was invented by the Christians. It's a word that was even used in the Gospels, which they're under the Mosaic Law, and even in I haven't checked, but I'm sure it's in the Greek Old Testament, and obviously Greeks used it and stuff. So I'm just saying that's where we get that word, but it means people. So there's multiple words we could learn that you could use the same word to convey the idea of people. There's even a Greek word where we get our word democracy or democrat, demos, which is second declension, but you don't have to learn that one yet. But that means people. If you did plural for anthropos, and you say anthropoi, that would mean people. So, there's, in Spanish, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird for me when I was learning Spanish years ago, and you use la gente. That's a singular form of that word, but it means people, plural. So similar here, this is singular form, and you would use the singular form, but it's referring to the idea of people, not just one person. Whereas with anthropos, if you use the singular form, anthropos, well, you're talking about just one person. Whereas if you use the plural, you're talking about these, so you got some strange words like that. So, but Laos means people.
Okay, so you would never use the Lao. I guess you'd never add the I to make it plural on that word.
Oh, you say laoi?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I haven't looked into that, but probably somebody would probably use the plural form at some point. Or, I mean, I've heard people make sentences where they talk about the peoples. I've even heard people use sentences where they say, "Hey, do you got your monies?" Or, especially when they're talking about like going to the real estate closing table and say, "Hey, make sure that you got your earnest monies, there for your 20% down, whatever." But most people don't say monies; they say money. Even when they refer to having a stack of money, they still refer to money. So yeah, just different things. Yeah, probably you maybe, but the most typical thing is where I think I've seen is where it seems like it's singular, but still referring to the people, the total people. And similar, we've got another word, oklos. Similar kind of idea. It means crowd. So you got a crowd of people. We would even say that in English, a crowd. So the indefinite article is singular, a crowd. And yet you're referring to a whole bundle of people, but you refer to it as one entity, a group of people. Even the word group, it's the idea of plural, but it's still a singular word, So oklos. So that, you could use our article on all these. You say ho laos, the people. Ho oklos, the crowd. And then here's a word, angelos. Now, this is one thing you want to grab hold of. Whenever you see two back-to-back gammas, it's actually exactly why we get our word angel, because you don't pronounce it as agelos. You pronounce it as angelos. So it sounds like it's actually alpha, nu, gamma, epsilon. That's how it sounds, but it's not how it's spelled. And that's just a common thing. Whenever you have two gammas together, you do similar when you get kappas. We'll get into some of the similar sort of consonants and that are grouped together, and there's certain behavioral rules that just apply a lot in Greek and various areas of the language and stuff. So gammas and kappas, and so let's see, even the he, looks it's he. It's kind of like our almost like a ch. That starts for the word for charis, which is grace, or looks like an X in our alphabet. That kind of travels together with the gammas and kappas, but we'll get into that, off in the future and stuff. But whenever you got two back-to-back gammas, you're going to pronounce it like angelos, almost like angel. That's where we get the word angel. So that's why it's not ago, it's angel, is because the two gammas sound like nu gamma. So angel. For whatever reason, the Greeks did that. So adelphos, because we put our accent on the end. Ho adelphos. Ho nomos, because we put the accent there. Ho uranos, because the accent's on the end. Ho cosmos, because the accent's on the first syllable. Ho laos, because the accent's on the end. Ho angelos, ho angelos. Ho oklos. So oklos is just two syllables. Omicron, he. And the second syllable is lambda, omicron, sigma. So that's the nominative form. Is that clear as mud?
Cosmos, it's on the first part, right?
Right. Right, the accent's on the first, yep. The acute accent, yep. All right, so adelphos, nomos, uranos, cosmos, laos, angelos, oklos. Okay, so that's our nominative new 7 words that we'll add together with other 5. So now we got a dozen words. We'll start making some really cool sentences. And then our new verbs are echo. So it kind of sounds like our word echo, or say something's like echoing, 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 or whatever. When you're shouting across the Grand Canyon or something. So echo, so the soft breathing mark, and let me draw attention to the soft breathing mark. It points to the left, right? It's our half moon pointing to the left for adelphos. Same with angelos. Same with uranos. Remember, when we have a diphthong for uranos, the breathing mark, whichever one it is, the accent, whatever, is always on the second vowel of the diphthong. It's not on the first. So uranos, and then oklos. These are all soft breathing marks. Angelos is soft, and adelphos. So 1, 2, 3, 4 soft breathing marks on 3 of our or 4 of our 7 new nouns, and also soft breathing mark on the echo. So we got the accent and the soft breathing mark together on the same vowel. They're kind of ganging up on that guy. So just 3 letters: epsilon, phi, omega, echo, and that means I have. So that's kind of a useful word. Just like we got our to be verb here, we're going to learn that one. Amy. We have I hear, akuo, but we also have I say. So we'll be able to make some really cool sentences with I can say, but I can hear. So, it kind of paired together. And then, as you can imagine, you can make a whole lot of sentences with a to be. He is, you are, I am, all these things. And then echo, I have. So I have a word, I have the word, I have a son, I have the son, I have the man, the Lord has a son, the man has a son, God has a son, God, and now we know the word kai. So theos, kai, kurios, and then I would use, the form of this, which we're not going to get into plurals yet, so actually I take that back. Let's just use singular. So say theos, and the way we conjugate that, which we learned already, is echo, but for the second person singular, which is you, so that would be ekes, right? Ekes. And then the third person singular, which is the he, she, it form, which is eke. So it'll be hotheos, eke, huion. So we use the accusative form of this, huion. So don't worry about if that went kind of, whoa, that's a little fast. Just throwing that out there. We'll erase the board and jump into the verbs here in more detail in a second. So Amy is the to be verb, and we're going to have 3 forms of that, and we'll get into that in a second. Again, going to have to kind of memorize each of those because they're going to seem a little strange. We're not really following so much the omega paradigm of omega verbs that we have with echo, akuo, and lego. So all those will follow the same paradigm for first person, second person, third person singular, that whole column. But Amy is going to be a little strange, so we just need to memorize it. And then, like I said, personal pronoun, nominative is whole. And I guess I'll go ahead and show you the whole singular column, because what you already know with second declension, it's just going to be a little bit of a tweak to what we already know with the endings os, which is Omicron sigma at the end of our nouns. Os, u, o, on. So nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, and we're just going to tag a little something with that, just a little bit, and there's our word for the in all the different all those 4 cases. So anyway, so let's dive in. A little bit of an overview there. Let's see here. Is anybody got any questions or anything?
Yeah, that last part of the akuo. What does that mean again?
That means I hear.
I hear.
Yeah. So if I say Frank lege, Frank says, Frank lege, and then we just say logon, the accusative for a word. So Frank hears a word, or Frank speaks a word. Frank lege logon, and then I could say, Christian akue logon. So Christian hears a word. So Frank says a word. Kai, I put the word Kai in there, right?
Right.
So I could say Frank lege logon Kai Christian akue logon. So we can say that already. So, and then maybe you say nai. Christian says nai, akuo logon. And then Frank says nai, Lego logon. Right? We can just form all kind of sentences. Get into a conversation. so anyway. So everybody ready to dive in a little bit? Yeah, I'll let you know. I was kind of looking Bill Mounts with his textbook and stuff. He's got some numbers calculated, and I was kind of looking at some of these words and their appearance in the New Testament. As long as we learn like all the forms of these verbs, that what I'm about to give you would apply. Of course, we got a little ways before we can do all that. But if I learn all the forms of the nouns, which isn't that far away, but definitely the verbs, there's a little more far in the future to have all the variations of those verbs that you get. But once we do that for all this, what we're venturing and get the tip of the iceberg or whatever, we will have learned based on the occurrences in the New Testament, 7.8% of the New Testament. So, but you'd have to learn more than just the simple present, indicative, active, because remember that's where we're at right now. As far as tense, mood, and verb, that's the three different dimensions, I guess, of a verb. Is it has tense, it has mood, and verb, or tense, mood, and voice. The other V word. So it's present tense. That's where we're at right now. Indicative with Lego and Echo and Amy and Akuo. So present tense, indicative mood, and active voice. So that's where we're going to park here for a little while. And then, of course, our declensions of our nouns is nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, and then, vocative too. So, all right. So everybody ready to dive in? Or?
I feel like we already did.
Yeah.
But okay.
Yeah. So some of it is we're going to expound on. Some of it we've covered most of it already, but some of it, we're going to expound on here a little bit. Definitely the verbs we got a little bit to cover. Yeah. All right. My little cheat sheet here, and so the first thing, just to the definite article. So definite article. In English, what's the definite article? What is the definite article in English? Anybody remember?
Is it the?
Yeah, the word the, right. The, yeah. So this is how we're learning to say the in all the different declensions of Greek. So we've got, I'm just going to say N, G, D, A, and I'm not going to bother with vocative. So anyway, so nominative, we already did that. So it would be ho. So that's what I would put on the, ho kurios, ho logos, ho huios, ho theos, ho anthropos. And for genitive, dative, and accusative, it's going to be kind of a similar sort of thing. We're going to start with what we already know, upsilon or omicron upsilon, and then for dative we got the omega. These are the endings, right? This is a little bit of an oddball because in nominative it's omicron sigma, but the sigma drops out for definite article for nominative. So, but the endings are omicron upsilon, omega for dative, and then omicron nu, right? So what we're going to do is add a tau on the front of it, and now we've got our definite articles for each case. That's it. That's all there is to it. So, again, this is what you guys already know. and this is kind of, the S is kind of, or sigma is kind of missing there, but drop that off. And you just add a tau, and you got it. Um, so how would I say, oh, let's see, I got something popping up on my screen there. Something about, I don't know, upgrade with virus software or something. So how would I say, how would I use my definite article with the genitive? Before, we'll talk about what it actually means in a second, but because we already know that this is the possessive form. You guys remember that?
Right.
Is green, right?
A word in front of the word, then I guess.
Yeah, this is where of, and then whatever our noun is, right, in the genitive, or where you would say, whatever our noun is, apostrophe s, and then whatever, like Jeff's car, or the son's, or the father's son, or the man's word, or yeah. So that's genitive, right? So if we were using the genitive together with the article, what would be for the word God? What would be the genitive of that?
The genitive is one I don't have good. Okay, that's a ooh.
So what's our word for God?
Theo.
Yeah, theos, right? Yeah, theo for genitive. Yep. So it'd be yep. So I got theta, epsilon. What's the next letter?
Omicron.
Omicron, and then what's after that?
Upsilon.
Upsilon, right? Okay. And let's see. So we would have tu theu. That's how you pronounce that. Tu theu. So keep in mind this is two syllables. So theu. So this emphasis is over here on this one. Tu theu.
Why did you add a tau in front?
Yeah, that's how you form the definite article for genitive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So yeah, you just take the ending of what would be for genitive, and then you add a tau on these guys. And the only exception is the nominative. You don't do that. Now, when we get to the neuter, you'll see, oh wow, they actually throw a tau on the front of it, and that's how they come up with what we already have. But you'll see that. So, but this is the one exception here. I just have Omicron, and it's got the rough breathing mark, so it's whole. It's not O, it's whole. So whole theos, whole huios, whole logos, whole anthropos, whole kurios, and then what's ho angelos, ho oklos, ho laos, ho, what was some of our other words? Ho nomos, ho uranos, ho cosmos, ho adelphos. So anyway, so we got tu theu, and then for dative for this, we use the same word. We got, of course, theta, epsilon, and then what do we have after that? For dative, for theos, what would be the dative form of theos?
It's the omega.
Right. So we throw the omega on there.
Yeah, it's actually like right. You got it to the left. So.
Yeah, it's so simple. It's like the definite article, man. It just and you'll eventually see sometimes where when you get into situations where sometimes you have a word and the only way to get clarity is to actually have the article, and then the article kind of clarifies things for you. We'll see how that looks in the future, but the definite article definitely is very useful, very helpful in various ways. So let's see. I think that yeah. Let's see. So tone, and then this one. What would we put at the end?
A new.
Omicron new, right?
Omicron new.
Yeah, Omicron new. Okay. So ton theon. All right, ton theon. So we got whole, and then let me put whole theos. Theos, tu theu, to theo, ton theon. Hey, those I sent a couple of videos out on. I don't know if I put it on the Voxer group, but I definitely put it on the Google Hangouts. Did you guys get a chance to look at those? I don't know. One of them was like 3 or 4 minutes. One of them was maybe 8 minutes. They had to do with like just a review of English grammar, with looking at subject relationship with verb versus direct object, indirect object. Because they're pretty good. So
yeah, they were short. They were good.
yeah, I think they did a good job. Yeah. So that would just help, and it doesn't hurt to maybe even in the future if you're like, oh, okay, wait a minute, let me go look at that again. So just to help grasp the distinction between direct object and accusative. I mean, that's not the only way you're using dative and accusative, but it's a lot of it. So it'll help, and then if you get that down pat as you move forward and you start getting into these times where there's exceptions, as long as you have that as a foundation, it's not much of a jump to kind of understand certain exceptions. So yeah, so that's that. Anybody got any questions? Is that clear? The word the, this is how we say the for each of these. Now, of course, if you got the genitive, it's really more of, kind of together with the idea of it being possessive and that, and with this, you probably would say the, but it just depends, because it's indirect object versus direct object. So each of these has their own function and role in a sentence. So let's look at some sentences. I guess would be the best way to, rather than me trying to talk ambiguously or something. All right, let's see. So let's say o anthropos lege. So what's, if I have dative versus accusative, which one is the indirect object? The dative is indirect object, right? And remember the indirect object is whom, it's usually a who, to whom you're, whatever the verb is, as opposed to where you're talking about what, it's kind of more the the accusative or the direct object. So we're going to say ho anthropos lege, and then what is he legeing? he's legeing a word, right? So ho anthropos lege, we're going to say ton logon. Okay, so ton logon, and then that's the accusative, right? That's the direct object, but now it's to somebody. So the man speaks a word, or the word, and then it's to somebody. So somebody pick a noun and give it to me in the dative and spell it out for me using the direct or definite article. Huios, curios.
Ton mion.
Ton huion.
Huion, thank you.
Huion, yeah, there you go. Okay. So how would you spell that?
Upsilon, iota, omicron.
Were you going to use a definite article though, or?
Oh,
the definite article.
Tau, omicron.
Yeah, omega.
Omega.
Okay. And then wheel.
Oh, it's a two wheel.
Yeah. So upsilon,
iota.
Rough breathing mark, right?
Okay.
Rough breathing mark above the iota, and then what are we going to put after that?
Sigma. No, not sigma. Omicron. No. New.
Can you see that?
Omega.
Omega. Yep. I know it looks strange, but that's
I'm
the
still getting the alphabet down.
that's the dative form of it. Yeah. So to huio. So it's ho anthropos lege ton logon to huio. So Frank, Adelphi Frank. And then this is not the form you would use if I'm like asking you to do something. You would use the imperative mood, but we don't have the imperative mood yet. So I'm just stating what you're doing. That's what the indicative is. So if I said, actually I wouldn't use. If I use direct address, I would actually probably be telling you to do something or asking you to do something, which would use the imperative. So we don't have that yet. So let me just state it this way: instead of the direct address, instead of using vocative, I would use the nominative to state what you're doing. So I would say, I would actually say whole Frank, put the nominative definite article in front of whole Frank lege, and then what are you legeing? What are you saying? So tell me this. Tell me what it means.
What that says there. The whole anthropos, but actually that confused me because I thought anthropos was mankind.
Yeah, and the reason why we say mankind is distinguished. It doesn't mean masculine gender when you say man. It means man, and that's usually how you see it when in classes. People use the word man, but don't get in your mind that it means masculine. It doesn't. Because it could totally be a woman, right? But it's in that sense. So you can totally use the word man, or you could say a person. But yeah, because you have the definite article, you got to use the word the. So you're not. If you didn't have this, you would just say a man. But because you have this, you say the man. So
you'd be saying that the mankind speaks the word.
Or you would say the man actually, or the person. One or the other. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So use the word person, I guess. That's fine. So say the man or the person, and then tell me what the rest of it says.
Lege speaks. The man speaks.
So the person the person says or speaks, says the word. Yeah, the word.
Okay. To the sun.
To the sun, right? So it's the man, or let's just use the word man. It's just easier. I mean, you could use the word person, but yeah. So we'll just use the word man just to keep it simple. So the man, because a lot of classes, a lot of teachers do. So the man says or speaks the word. The man speaks the word. You kind of need context sometimes to figure out whether you should use the word say or speak. But the man speaks the word to the sun. The man speaks the word to the sun. So that's how you would say that. And then if you wanted to throw genitive in there, you could say this. You could say ho anthropos lege ton logon, and make the word belong to somebody. So we'll say the word of the Lord. So we'll say to. Oh yeah. Wait. Yeah, that would have to move over. Yeah, the accent. Anyway, so tu kuriu. So you'd say ho anthropos lege ton logon tu kuriu to huio. So that is the person or the man says the word of the Lord to the sun. You guys see that? Does that make sense? The man says ho anthropos lege. The man says, or the man speaks. You say that. The man speaks the word of the Lord. Ton logon tu kurio, because this is genitive, so this is possessive.
You use genitive there because it's
possessive.
It's the Lord is possessing like the word.
Yeah, so you're saying the word belongs to the Lord. So you're saying, hey Lord, can I borrow your word? Because I want to talk about it. He's like, yeah, go ahead. Just make sure you mention me. so okay, so ton logon tu kurio. Okay, so everybody know that belongs to him. So, but that's kind of the idea. Is genitive is for showing possession. And the equivalent in English would be, you say, the man speaks the Lord's. This whole thing right here is what we're doing. That's what we're doing with tu, by making it genitive, tu kuriu. So making it tu kuriu, we got that apostrophe s with the Lord. So the Lord's word. So the Lord's word, and of course word goes to this, the word, or the word. And then of the Lord is tu kuriu, to the Son. To the Son.
Okay, now that makes sense.
Yeah. Now this is a preposition, so this is a prepositional phrase, and this is what, they said that in the video I told you last time too, is that in English, sometimes you could just use without a prepositional phrase. Some sentences it'll work, some sentences it won't work, where you can just have the indirect object, but other times it's like, you really need to use a preposition like to the Son, make a prepositional phrase to convey the idea of an indirect object. But yeah, the man or the person speaks the Lord's word, or the word of the Lord. So you can either say apostrophe s or of the Lord. Either way, it means the same thing in English. But that's what we're talking about. The man speaks the word of the Lord to the Son. Yeah. So now what if you wanted to change this and make it the word of the Son to the Lord? Let me erase this and you guys fill in the blank. So now we want to make it the word of the Son to the Lord. How would I write that?
The word of the Son would be on the indirect object. Trying not to look, I'm trying to think here.
Yeah, right, there you go.
Okay, so
if you need to use your training wheels, use your training wheels, and eventually just repetition, it'll just start to flow. So a lot of the key is just repetition. So even if you have to look at your cheat sheet, that repetition eventually it'll stick. So the man speaks the word of the Son. How would I say of the Son? You're using huios, so you got to modify huios. Oh, did I lost it. Lord. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see if we can get back on this thing. There we go.
There he is.
Hey, brother, sorry about that.
Hey, brother.
All right, yeah, I noticed it. Like, whoa, everything froze up. It's like, okay, or is it my internet or? Okay.
It's taking a long time to access it.
What's that?
I'm taking a long time.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, did you guys figure it out? I just noticed it's 8:15. I guess the idea that I thought of how much material I was going to cover today, I was kind of like totally delusional.
It's good to go slow, a little slow.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to like just finish up what we're doing and pick it back up next week and stuff. So anyway,
Can you repeat the sentence that you wanted?
say it again.
So can you repeat the ending that you were looking for?
Oh, the ending I was looking for. Yeah, the genitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember the genitive is omicron upsilon.
No, but how you wanted it to, like you said, the sun.
Oh, okay. So you'd
The
say, the possessive idea. So instead of saying the Lord's word, we would say the Son's word, or the word of the Son. That's what we want to say. So to say the word of the Son, we would use the genitive for Son. So ho anthropos lege ton logon. Well, how would we say that for of the Son? How would we modify it?
Is that wrong? To you?
Tu, yeah, tu. So tu, yeah, tu. So yeah, upsilon here, and then oop, 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 oop. Trying to make it omega there. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, look at that. Making it omicron. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. Yep. There we go. So huiu. It's kind of a sorry looking omicron, but kind of looking a little sickly. Huiu. So tu huiu. So that says what does that say? Christian, tell me what does that say right there? So far.
The man says the word to the sun.
Not to the sun.
The man says the word.
Genitive is possessive. What is it?
The sun's word.
Yeah, the Son's word or the word of the Son. It makes a lot. It flows better. The idea is that when it's the Lord, because you're like, oh, the word of the Lord, yeah, But when it's the word of the Son, it's like, oh, okay, that's a little awkward. So, but now he's saying it to the Lord. So you would use the dative to express that. He's saying it to the Lord. So, what would we say there? To the Lord, using the dative with the article.
Okay, to the Lord would be ton kurion.
We use the dative though, not the accusative.
Oh yeah, that's right, dative, the accusative. We need the dative, right?
Yeah, right, dative, yeah.
Okay, I don't have that one memorized yet. So I guess it's looking at it, it's the omega, right?
Yeah, so omega. So the article is definite article is.
To.
Yeah, tau, and then omega. Yep. And then to spell kurios with the dative, how would you spell that?
Gamma, upsilon, rho. We still put the iota, right?
Yeah, we still need the iota. Yeah.
We need the omega.
And then the omega, right? Yeah. Yep. So that would say, what would that say?
This is the man speaks the word to the Son's word to the Lord.
Yeah, the man speaks the Son's word or the word of the Son to the Lord. Yeah, either way, you could say it either way. The man speaks the Son's word to the Lord, or you could say the man speaks the word of the Son to the Lord. Yeah, either way. Yep. So, exactly. So that's good. So yeah, I guess we should probably end it. End it there. I'll try and come up with some homework or something, and I guess I'll put it up on the Google Hangouts thing. I'll let you guys know on Voxer or something, but I'll put it up on Google Hangouts so everybody has access to it. And I think we can upload documents there, right? Google Hangouts.
Yeah, I think you can.
Yeah, or I could put it on my Google Drive and then just put the link there so everybody could download it or whatever. But I'll put some sentences, problems, or whatever people to.
There's some good stuff on the on the chat, so having to scroll up to find it is it's going to get long really quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got any suggestions or?
I just have to post, just keep my notes, just paste it in my notes.
Yeah. Okay.
I can do that.
All right. So, all right, brothers.
Thanks, brother.
Well, God bless you guys.
Yeah, this has been great.
Yeah, you guys are doing good. You on a roll.
I feel like it's slow going, but thanks for your patience and understanding and working with us novices.
I'm telling you, man. I was working on this for my own, using resource from the internet too, but for like a year and a half, and then I went to that first Polis Institute class, and yeah, I mean, there's they're speaking to us in Greek in class and stuff, but I started out good, but anyway, yeah, I mean, I can totally relate, is what I'm trying to say. I mean, it's just a lot of repetition over and over and over. Greek is, I've heard, like one of the harder languages. So I've heard that. So there's a lot to it. It's a lot harder than English, that's for sure. So
yeah, I feel like I have to memorize a lot of this beginning stuff just to kind of build it, and then I think it'll get easier. But
yeah,
to memorize is like just the cases, the
yep.
nominative. Yeah. So
yeah,
a lot of work.
Yeah, because it's sort of like once you learn the second declension and you're like, you got it. Well, remembering the definite articles is, I mean, they're so pretty much the same, except for you got a tau or like the nominative it's an omicron instead of an omicron sigma. But I mean, it's so once you get that basic, like you're saying, foundation, then like making a jump to some of the other things is sometimes there's new things that are fairly significantly, new and stuff, and there's going to be just constant new vocabulary and stuff, which, making flashcards is what helps. I mean, I could put some links for some different places where you get flashcards. The only thing is because there'll be so many of them, you would have to like go through them and see which ones we're doing right now instead of following their program. So it'd take a little work, or else just get index cards and make your own. So
yeah, probably index cards on our own would work, because then we would have to write it out, and that would reinforce the writing.
Yeah, so you could like fold them in half and just make it into two for one index card, and put Greek on one side and then English translation on the back or something. That's how I'll show you a lot of. Here's one example of some of the ones that I got. Yeah, I've got two different versions. Here we go. Yeah, so here's one I got from Bill Mounts. These are the ones I'd probably really recommend. They're probably even a little bit cheaper than these other ones. Like these ones here, I'll show you. I looked at the price, the current price. Maybe I didn't pay this much for them, years ago when I bought them, but currently, I was really surprised because they really fall short. These ones here really fall short of the ones I'm going to show you here, which there's a whole lot more of them, and not to mention it's got extra, it's got my notes on it. But like this one, so on one side would be measure, and then it's got the place. This is the number of times of the occurrence in the New Testament, and then this is, I forget what that is. It's the chapter where it is in the book, or I forget exactly. But then you turn it over, and a typical sort of convention, I guess, for nouns and adjectives is over here. It'll say, you won't recognize this yet because this is neuter, but you'll have the article for neuter, for the nominative, for neuter, and then you'll have the nominative and the genitive. So it'll show nominative, genitive. So that's just a convention you'll have on all these cards. I don't know if these follow it. I don't think this one does, but this one does. So that's when you look in the lexicons or whatever, is they always show like the first and the second. And as long as you know the first and the second, you can always conjugate them. If the only type of nouns that we had was second declension, you would just need the first one. But because once you start getting into the challenging ones with third declension, you're like, no, I need both to kind of figure out, because of all these different variations and stuff, to know is that second declension or third declension or whatever. So as long as you got the first two, you can figure it out and stuff. once you learn first, second, and third declensions. So these are probably worth it. I'll show you the box that I got them in. What do I do with the box? This right here. You get these on Amazon. Just Google them, or not Google them, but look on the Amazon search engine there. And yeah, by William Mounts. And yeah, it's just full of cards. So, and I think of all the cards, all the words that he goes through in his class, if you were to memorize all of these that are in here, you would know 80% of the words in the New Testament, because that's what his class, if you go through his textbook and stuff, he gets you through 80% of the vocabulary in the New Testament and stuff. So, which is pretty significant. So, you would definitely, if you knew that much, you would be able to read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John no problem. Assuming that you know the grammar too. It's not just a, function of vocabulary. You got to know the grammatical rules too and stuff. But.
You see, for me, I'm doing okay so far on the nouns. Which that sounds like a great idea using the flashcards.
Right.
But my hard part that I'm having right now is I've spent like the whole week trying to get the endings. I mean, I know what nominative and genitive are, but like trying to remember like the Omicron, Sigma, and just the ending. And all I got for like the whole week, I think I came up with nominative, accusative, and vocative. That's the only ones I actually got memorized.
Yeah.
I was doing the plural too, so I'm looking for a better way to actually memorize these instead of just trying to say them. Surely there's some way, I guess, writing it out on the words.
Yeah, part of it is writing it out. But once we actually get some understanding of the basics of a language, we can actually start talking together with it. The talking back and forth, and even during the week, if you guys like kind of do that with each other, whether it's typing it out in chat mode or speaking it, really is powerful to help remember this stuff. So together with the typical memorizing, writing it out, open Notepad on your computer, just start writing sentences, do your homework, all those sorts of things. But those things eventually, just start out the way you're doing right now is, you're memorizing, and I'll send you some homework, do some homework, do some of the homework I send or whatever. But eventually, yeah, it's like a snowball effect. It's gonna grow where, yeah, you'll be able to actually, just use Notepad or Microsoft Word or whatever, start writing sentences and just practicing, thinking through all the various forms. Because one of the things that we can do once we start speaking that I thought Polis Institute really is really brilliant, really useful, is like when you're talking to each other, I would say maybe to you, second person. So I'll say, Frank, did you give the word to the son? And then you would say, and of course, somebody listening to the conversation would think, what are these guys in kindergarten or something? But it's really powerful. So I would say, hey, Frank, did you give the word to the son? And you would say, yes, I gave the word to the son. And then, maybe you might say to Christian, did he give the word to the son? And then he would say, yes, he gave the word to the son. And then maybe you say back to me, so did you give the word to the son? I say, yeah, I gave the word to the son. But I'm not sure, did he give the word to the son? And it's like just doing that first person, second person, third person, repetition, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, like we did in class. And, I could send you a demonstration where they're doing that, is really powerful. It's really helpful. So these other classes, they don't do that kind of stuff. So they really rely a lot on the writing, the memorizing, all this kind of stuff. And that's certainly an important layer to the memorization process. But adding the interaction, making it into a living language where you're actually using the language on top of that. And you obviously have to get, it's almost like trying to get a car started. You got to push it, get it going a little bit before it can actually start. So we got to get some basic vocabulary before we can actually do that. Verbs and nouns, and then sprinkle in a few adjectives soon. We've got, we learned our words of conjugation conjunctions. The word kai, right, for and. So I say, ho theos, kai ho huios, tu theu, the Son of God, ho huios tu theu. So I can say ho theos, God, kai, and ho huios tu theu. So I can say that, and then we'll get into verbs and all that, whatever. But we're we're making some headway here. Once we get to where, you know, we've got a little bit of a, tools in our tool chest here or whatever to get going with that. But once we are able to do that and actually talk to each other and stuff, and I really encourage you to do it offline. It's really helpful and stuff. So, and
yeah, if you have some videos of like conversation happening and you could post it, that would be helpful. We could just repeat it, like what they're saying.
yeah, the only thing is it'll be words that you're not familiar with yet.
Yeah.
So for right now, I mean, you could look at it, just look at it, but don't try to like memorize what they're doing because my brain might explode or something. I mean, if you think you can handle it and then still keep up with what we're doing, hey, more power to you. But at least to see how they're doing that. Yeah, to see how they're doing it, I can send you a video with Polis Institute doing that. So, and the way they started out is different than all other courses. Like the way we're starting out is typical how Bill Mounts and all these different textbooks that I have. This is how they start out, where it's learning basic nouns and usually second declension, and then present tense, right? But the way they start out right from the beginning is going right into the imperative mood, not the indicative mood, but the imperative mood. Because if I use the imperative mood, I can say, Frank, stand up. Okay, Frank, sit down in your chair. Frank, put the book over on the table. And I can tell you the words for table and this and whatever. And because I'm giving you the imperative mood commands with some of the basics like we're already learning about of the table, with the definite article and the genitive, all this sorts of stuff. But by using the imperative mood, which is the command form, I can tell you to do that. And then you could use this and say, and I could ask you, what are you doing? I would say, T poyes, what are you doing? T poyes. And then you would tell me using present indicative active, which is indicative is I'm stating facts. I'm not telling you to do something. I'm stating facts. That's the mood. And it's present tense. This is what I'm doing right now, active voice. So you would say, hey, I'm sitting down in the chair, as long as you knew the word for chair. And you would say, I'm sitting down in the chair, which is kind of what we're learning right now, present indicative active. But if I'm able to give you commands and we're going back and forth, there's a whole lot more interaction you can do than just using present tense indicative, where it's like, what is Christian doing? Christian is speaking the word of the Lord. You're stating facts of what he's doing, but you're not actually telling him to do something. If you want to tell him to do something, you got to use the imperative mood. So they're kind of doing that, which maybe in the not so distant future we'll couple that into what we're doing. But I just thought it'd be good to like kind of start out with what we're doing right now, just to get basic present tense, stating things of factual, second declension, masculine, which are the most common prevalent nouns in the New Testament, learning the declensions and that. So a little bit different approach the way they did that course, but I am thankful that I did what I learned first, which is kind of what you guys are doing first, before I went into that. Because I think that was, because when I went to my course, there were two people in the class that were kind of struggling. One particular, like just totally, like she never quite got it. She had no Greek at all. And the other guy, not really any Greek. He was more like Greco-Roman history buff, and he was taking this because he needed a language course, but he didn't really know Greek. So both of them were struggling, where the other people in the class, some more than me, like had been exposed to a lot of Greek. One guy was actually teaching Greek at a community college, and he wanted to bring the spoken part of it into his classroom. So that's why he took the classes. So anyway, we'll get into some of that soon. But so yeah, do your flashcards. I'll send you a link or I'll write something up and for homework and get it to you somehow.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that's great, brother. Thanks a lot for your efforts. Thanks for hanging in with us.
Yeah. Okay, brothers. Yeah, just keep at it, man. This is awesome. You guys are keeping. I mean, because to me, it's encouraging to me to see like that there's more people that are interested in learning Greek. I don't know that much about Sattler College, but it's encouraging to me that part of their program is like I like watching that little video of Finney where like, man, this is the way they used to be. This is the way we're gonna get it back to, where people like they graduate and they are pretty decent with Hebrew, Greek, Latin. I mean, that's awesome. So, um, I mean, I run into a lot of people, and I get it. I understand where they're coming from, and I don't really try to. It's it's not a battle I want to pick up because it'll make people really nervous. If you really emphasize the benefit you can get from studying Greek, it starts to make people think so. Oh, so I can't trust my Bible, and that's a really difficult you know thing to venture into. Even when you start like Christian, as you know, and I think Frank, you know this too. When you start to venture into, you take, for instance, those CDs from Berceau, where he did a really good job about explaining the history of the Septuagint and what happened to our Old Testament Bible, how we ended up with the Jewish Old Testament, which is not as clean and pure as the Greek Septuagint that we have. And when you start getting into that and you say, man, there's actually quote unquote mistakes in my Old Testament. So where are the mistakes? Because I want to know what I got to be careful with and stuff. That's a really scary conversation for people. Because people want to know, they're like, man, dude, my English Bible's got to be flawless. So now if I believe I got an English Bible that's flawless, what do I need Greek for? Right? So you can't, it's almost like you can't win when you have this conversation with people. Either you're going to make people uncomfortable. They're like, whoa, so where's the problem spots? Whatever. And I get that. I totally get it. But this is what God has chosen to do. Could God have protected, the pristine scripture, so whether it was multiple copies that they all matched each other? He did it with the Septuagint. I mean, the early Christians, all of them testify that the account that Aristeas is talking about in 200 BC, that of an event that happened 75 years before that, around 275, where the Septuagint by 72 different scribes that were translating the Hebrew into Greek, and they all came out after they were done, because Ptolemy wanted to make sure they were all separate so they weren't colluding and cheating and like actually making the scriptures corrupted so the Greeks couldn't read them. That he had them all separated, and when they all came out independently and they compared the scriptures, Ptolemy compared them, they all matched. So God could have done that in the last 2,000 years. He could have done it, but he didn't. How do we know? Because the objective evidence shows he didn't do that, right? So were the variations, how big of a deal is it? Can we get back to what the original, what they would call the autographs, the original ones that were penned? We can get really close. There can be some small little things. It's either like this or like this. It's not that big a deal. One of the bigger ones that I know of that's a big deal is Matthew 19:9. But we can, from what I understand here in these textual scholars, we can get back to some high 90% of confidence level or whatever, because we got the early church, their quotes to line up with what we got. We've got we got various languages outside of Greek. Well, how did they translate it? And comparing all these things, but when you lay out the reality that there's some stuff you can actually get a benefit from learning Greek. It can inspire people to go, well, I want to learn Greek, man. I want to know God. I just want to know God. I want to know the truth. Jesus is the truth. I want to know him, right? And I'm willing to invest the time, whatever, money, whatever. There's not that many people that are willing to do that. It's really encouraging for me when I see that. So that's really what I'm trying to say. So, yeah. So anyway. All right, brothers. Well, God bless you. I'm making this a long video for anybody that wants to watch it. So.
All right, God bless you, brothers.
Okay, you guys have a great week. Lord bless you.
All right. Good night.
Okay, bye-bye.